I don't know, if you're old like me, you probably remember this. Remember the olden days when if you liked a baseball team, if the baseball team in your particular area, you rooted in Washington, D.C., we didn't have a baseball team until for many years. There's the Orioles in Baltimore, okay? So, that was our local baseball team for many years until the Nationals finally became the Montreal Expos became the Nationals, and then we got our own team for a while there. We still have it, yeah. And they won the World Series a couple years ago, so yeah. But remember the olden days? I remember the olden days when I would go to my grandparents' place up in New Jersey, or my nephew Tom was a huge Braves fan because he lived in Atlanta. And, you could just go to a regular old television set with an antenna on it, and you could watch your local sports team, right? You could just turn on, Channel 20 or Channel 5 or Channel 9 or whatever, and they would have games from your local sports team. And there would be commercials, sure, for beer and for whatever, cars and whatever, but there was the game. And you could put it on in the evening, you could have your own beer, your Bud Light, whatever, and watch the game. And that was that. You didn't have to pay extra for it. Whatever. Now, not every game would be on the local telly. Sometimes, you'd have to go to the game if you wanted to see the game, or you could turn on what is called a radio. Remember the radio? It's a little box there, and you had a little dial on it, and you could tune in the radio, and you could listen to the game. Now, they still have radios around, and you can still listen to some baseball on the radio, so that's still around. But what's happened to baseball on television, and other sports too, is that they've become cable. Cable came along. Cable came along and basically took away all these free sports. And in the original days of cable, it wasn't all that bad. It was a couple extra bucks a month. You got a sports tier, or maybe it was just a regular channel on your cable, and you were paying 30, 40 bucks a month. But you could see a lot more of the games on various what they called regional sports networks, or stuff like ESPN and stuff like that. So for a while there, it was still, okay, some of the games would be on regular free television and some of the games would be on cable. And that worked out very well for another couple of years. And now everything's gone completely haywire. What's happening now is you get more and more of these what are called regional sports networks that are getting bought out by giant corporations, big media companies, and now they're raising their rates and making deals with cable companies so that, for example, let's just say we have this thing called Yankees Entertainment Sports. It's a big channel up in New York. It has most if not all of the Yankees games on them. That's pretty much the only way you can really watch all the games or most of the games if you're a big fan of the Yankees, right? So Yankee Sports Entertainment, okay, so the channel costs something like $7 a month to cable companies, okay? So or cable company or a various over the OTT, whatever they call it. It's like YouTube TV, Hulu, stuff like that. Some of these services also offer some of those channels, but it costs them about $7 a month in a basic fee to put that channel in the mix of their channels, okay? Now, that's not the cost you pay by any means. That's like the bargain. That's like when Walmart buys toilet paper from a supplier, they pay a certain price for that, and then when they sell it, they mark it up retail wise, okay? That's like their base price, okay? But that's not what they sell it for, because they have to make a profit on it, because they're offering it in their stores and they're distributing it. And it's the same thing with a cable company. So the cable company will pay $7 a month for YES, Y-E-S, and then if they have it as a standalone channel, they'll sell it for $15 or $20. But what more often they do is they package YES in what they call a sports tier, or and then there'll be a sports tier for $15 or $20 or $30. So the only way you can get the Yankees games is to buy this tier, which can run you, I don't know, whatever the tier costs. $30 a month. $30 a month times 12, that's, a lot of money just to watch your Yankees games. Plus you get a bunch of other sports channels bundled with that, which you may or may not want. So basically the whole model is broken. So what is now happening is that especially the over-the-top, over-the-transom services like YouTube TV and Hulu and Sling are dropping all these RSN regional sports networks because they're just too expensive. You know, they want to keep, you know, people that are cutting the cord don't want to be paying $100, $150, $200 a month like they were paying the cable companies. So these services like YouTube TV, Hulu, Sling, whatever, are basically dropping these expensive channels that cost $7, $8, $9, $10 a month in their basic fee there, and so they're not available. So now the only way to get YES or services like that is to go through a traditional cable company, and then you end up having to buy basic cable, and you end up having to buy another tier, and then a sports tier, and this and that, because they require you to buy multiple tiers in order to get the YES network. And bing, bada, boom, before you know it, you are spending $150, $200 for cable, renting the box, doing this, paying the taxes. And that's why, and then cable companies keep charging more and more and more. So in order to watch your Yankees now, you got to be blowing hundreds of dollars on these stupid TV packages that you may or may not want. And that's the problem now. And the prices are only going up now that more and more of these services like YouTube TV and Hulu and Sling are dropping the RSNs, the regional sports networks. They're jacking their prices up and charging even more to the cable companies and stuff that are still carrying them. So the rates are only going to go up and up and up. Cable companies even now have added a regional sports fee into their mix along with what you're paying for the tier. You know, you're paying for a tier of sports networks, and then on top of that, you're paying a regional sports fee that could be $20 or $30 a month or something like that. So the price is just going through the roof. And some of these regional sports networks are literally teetering on bankruptcy now because their audience is going down and their prices are going up, and somewhere that's all going to have to come out in the wash, so to speak. So basically, it is just a whole bunch of greed along the way. The greed from the sports team owners, greed from these regional sports networks, greed from the cable companies, these big giant corporations that really don't care about the sports teams at all. And who's getting SCREWED? You, the viewer. You, the sports fan. You know, most people enjoy watching some baseball on a nice summer evening, hoisting a beer and all that, but are you willing to pay through the nose to continue to do that? There are some rabid fans that will do that, but the average viewer, they're just saying no, goodbye. You know, I'll see the highlights on the news perhaps. I can still listen on my radio, you know, remember that? But it's really sad what's happening to sports today in America and sports broadcasting. The good old day of just putting up an antenna and having a TV and turning on the game, that's a long, distant memory. Oh, yeah. Anyway, going to be interesting to see how this whole thing shakes out. But it's not going to be good for anybody. Thanks for watching. Vlog Under.